Hi and welcome back. Today we're getting straight into the first in our series on provincial nominee programs, which are fantastic routes to permanent residence in Canada. A nomination from a province will give you an extra 600 CRS points, which guarantees selection in the next express entry draw. And many provinces have fewer requirements for applicants, which makes for an easier route into Canada for those who may not have enough points to be selected for the express entry draws. Make sure you watch our videos on Express Entry Explained and how to improve your CRS points for a lot more information on these.
So we're starting today with the province of Alberta, which is one of Canada's most beautiful provinces and one of the country's 3 prairie provinces. With buzzing cities, the Rocky Mountains, glaciers and endless lakes, it's easy to see why their provincial nominee program is so popular.
So a nomination from the Alberta Immigrant Nominee Program, or AINP, allows you to apply for permanent residence in Canada together with your spouse or common law partner and your dependent children.
Alberta is over in the west of Canada on the US-Canada border and neighbours British Columbia to the west, Saskatchewan to the east and the Northwest Territories to the north. The capital of Alberta is Edmonton, with the biggest city being Calgary, and the province is home to almost 4.5 million people. Despite the province's enormous size, over 660,000 square kilometres, more than half of Albertans live in either Edmonton or Calgary, which has created a great rivalry between the two cities.
It is a beautiful area of Canada, and you may well have heard of the popular tourist destinations of Banff, Jasper, Lake Louise. Well, did you know that all of these are in Alberta?
The Alberta Immigrant Nominee Program is an economic immigration program that aims to nominate applicants with skills to fill job shortages or applicants who are planning to buy or start a business in Alberta. With this in mind, Alberta runs a number of potential nominee programs under 2 streams, one for workers and one for entrepreneurs, and the requirements for each one vary.
Under the entrepreneur stream, the 3 options are International Graduate Entrepreneur, Self-Employed Farmer Stream, and Foreign Graduate Startup Visa Stream. But as the majority of our viewers have no Canadian experience and are looking for ways into Canada as skilled workers rather than entrepreneurs, this video will be focusing on the stream for workers. If immigrating as an entrepreneur or a farmer is something that you're interested in, all the information can be found by clicking on the links that we put in the description box below.
The worker stream is split into 2 categories, the Alberta Opportunities Stream and the Alberta Express Entry Stream. The Alberta Opportunities Stream is for qualified candidates who live and work in Alberta and have a job offer from an Alberta employer. Unless you're currently in Alberta with a job offer, the Alberta Express Entry Stream will be the route for you, and this is what we'll be focusing on today.
This is a direct route to permanent residency, whereby candidates who have demonstrated strong ties to Alberta or who can help support the government's economic development and diversification priorities can apply. Because Alberta is specifically looking for applicants to fill their in-demand jobs, they publish a constantly updated list of their occupations in demand, which we will add the link to in the description box below.
At the moment, there are 68 occupations in demand listed, including licensed nurses, social workers, bartenders, software engineers, sheet metal workers, chiropractors, dentists, and bricklayers.
As the name suggests, the Alberta Express Entry Stream is a provincial nomination program which is linked to the federal Express Entry system and therefore requires candidates to already have an Express Entry profile before they can apply. This means that you must meet the standard requirements to be eligible for one of the 3 federal Express Entry programs.
The programs are Federal Skilled Worker, Federal Skilled Trades and Canadian Experience Class. The requirements for each program are different, but you must meet the minimum requirements for language skills, education, work experience, and proof of funds in order to be able to apply. Click on the links in the description box below to find out whether you're eligible for any of the Express Entry programs. And make sure you watch our video on Express Entry Explained for more information on what the requirements are and how to apply.
The only AINP specific requirements are that you must have a minimum CRS score of at least 300, at least 1 year of work experience in an occupation which supports Alberta's economic development program, and you must have the intention to live and work in Alberta.
Once you have an active Express Entry profile, there are several steps to applying to the AINP. You can't apply directly to the AINP. The first step is to wait to receive a notification of interest letter from the AINP in your Express Entry profile. Only candidates who receive this letter can contact the AINP to pursue their interest in applying.
Now here is a question which is pretty hard to find any answers to online and used to confuse me greatly. How do provinces find you in the Express Entry pool out of the hundreds of thousands of candidates?
When creating your Express Entry profile, you must select either one, multiple, or all provinces when identifying which one you are interested in. The portal then allows provinces and territories to view only candidates who've shown an interest in their province.
This way, the provinces or the territories can use the portal to search for candidates who are already in the Express Entry pool using a combination of search criteria like language levels, education, work experience and qualifications, and the search results appear as a list of anonymous candidates.
Whether you receive a notification of interest letter will depend on a variety of things, such as whether your skills are in demand in Alberta at the time, your language proficiency, especially your French language skills, your ties to Alberta, how many potential candidates there are at the time, and the number of available nominations.
Although not compulsory, your chances of receiving a nomination are greatly increased if French is your first language, if you have an Alberta job offer or work experience in Alberta, if you are a graduate of a Canadian post-secondary institution, or if you have a parent or a child or a brother or sister who is living in Alberta. All the information on the AINP and the eligibility requirements can be found on their website, which we've added into the description box below.
If you have a job offer from an Albertan employer, it must be continuous, paid full-time work, which is a minimum of 30 hours a week for at least 12 months, with wages that meet or exceed provincial minimum wage at a location in Alberta.
Once you have received a notification of interest letter, the next step is to respond to this letter. And once you have received it, you only have 2 weeks to email a copy of the letter to the AINP. So it's very important to keep checking your Express Entry profile for any notifications.
The next step comes if you are selected to apply. If this happens, the AINP will send you an email requesting you to submit an application in the form of an email with a link to the AINP portal. In order to access the portal, you must first create a My Alberta Digital ID (MADI) account, which is a free online identity for accessing Government of Alberta services online. We've added the link below for how to set up an account.
Be aware that applicants must have a strong likelihood of becoming economically established in Alberta. The AINP will decline your application if they believe that you may not settle in Alberta.
You must then complete and submit your application in the AINP portal. The portal will give you a personalised list of documents you need to upload based on the information you entered, and there is a PDF available with a comprehensive document checklist, the link for which, as you may have guessed, is in the description box below.
Once you've uploaded and checked your application for accuracy, you can submit your application in the portal, at which point you also need to pay the application fee, which is a non-refundable fee of $500. You only have 24 hours to pay the fee from submitting your application, so it's definitely advisable to do them both at the same time.
Once you've applied, your application will go into a pool of Alberta Express Entry Stream applications and may be selected for assessment. There are no set processing times or order of assessments for applications. It is just a case of waiting, and you will receive a decision on your application by email.
Your AINP application will then be either accepted or declined. If your application is accepted, you will become a provincial nominee and receive a nomination certificate through the Federal Express Entry portal. This will give you 600 extra CRS points, and you will be selected in the next draw. Our video on Express Entry Explained will give you more insight into how the Express Entry system works if you're not 100% sure.
The timeline here is important. You must accept the nomination within 30 days after it is issued in order to receive an invitation to apply, and you will only have 60 days to apply for permanent residence once the invitation is received. So again, get everything done as soon as possible to avoid losing these precious opportunities.
It is worth mentioning here that submitting an application to the AINP does not guarantee that you will receive a nomination, and a nomination by the province does not guarantee that you will be issued permanent resident visas. You must make sure that you meet all the criteria and have submitted all the necessary documents, and this is the reason why many people choose to use an authorised representative or consultant to complete their application, to eliminate the possibility of any errors.
So that is everything you need to know for the Alberta Immigrant Nominee Programme. If you've got your sights set on Alberta, we don't blame you, and we hope you're now a little bit more clear on the process. As mentioned, we've included the links for everything we've talked about today in the description box below, and of course feel free to let us know if you've got any questions about any of the ways to apply.
The provincial nominee programs are complicated but well worth getting your head around if you are thinking of moving to Canada. So make sure you hit subscribe and stay tuned to find out more about the PNPs, the provincial nomination programs, from Canada's other provinces.